So today we're just going to talk about the basics of the network. A home network, we're actually going to cover how it ties into the internet and kind of show you all the pieces together. And the first part is an introduction to the internet. So the internet is just a network that's not physically here. It's, a lot of people will say, the cloud. It's a network that we're connecting to through a connection, which I'll show you in a second, but it's basically the same thing. So this, all these computers here, we can get connected to each other. I can copy stuff back and forth. That's how the internet's working. It's just a big network, and it's worldwide. So if you ever wonder what exactly is the internet, it's just a network. That's it. It's a complicated network. I wouldn't want to manage it. But what is the cloud? Does anybody have an idea of what it means when we say, excuse me, when we say the cloud?
Storage? I don't know. Storage.
Storage device on the internet? Anything else?
Servers.
Servers, okay. It's not an actual cloud. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if we had computers floating around in the clouds, but there's a lot of things that it refers to. And you mentioned storage, OneDrive, Google Drive, Apple iCloud, Dropbox, Hulu, Netflix, Yahoo Mail. If you're using Yahoo Mail, let's talk later. They've been hacked a few times. But any email provider where you access it from a web page. Our website, ecotu.club, is in the cloud. It's basically devices, servers, and things that aren't physically here that are in the internet. Simple as it can get. So, the internet connection, it's out there, but how do we get it down here? How do we connect to it? And you probably heard people say ISP. Well, what does that mean? Internet Service Provider. Who is an ISP? I have Spectrum at home. What do we have here in the Newark area? I don't live here. Spectrum? Okay. Anybody else? Windstream? Is Spectrum the dominant one, or? Okay, good. I'm actually going to show you a Spectrum router. And this is how we connect to the internet through our ISP. So the ISP holds the keys. And this is actually the device that will translate what the internet says. So it's got all these bits. It's kind of like they're speaking French and we're speaking Spanish, and the router in between it is kind of moving the bits and bytes between it and translating it back and forth so that it mixes in with our own network. But we need a box to do it. A lot of times you'll get a modem, a router, a switch, a Wi-Fi access point, all that stuff bundled into one. And you might be paying for it. Do any of you don't have to be ashamed of this. I'd like to help you fix this. Do any of you pay a rental fee for a box in your house? See, we've got a few. You know you don't have to do that for the most part, right?
Nope, have to.
Who are you with?
Time Warner.
Time Warner, huh? What are they charging you for, the modem?
Yep.
Okay.
Because I'm with Time Warner, it doesn't exist anymore.
Ah.
Still charges me.
Gotcha.
They charge me too.
Let me show you something that might fix that and may not. This is actually a good trick.
We're with Spectrum and we have our own modem.
You have your own? Okay. Try this out, John, and whoever else has to rent. This is actually a really good tip for searching in general. So whatever search engine you use, Bing, Google, DuckDuckGo, it should all work the same. This is just a simple Boolean search term. So you type in this right here. Can you guys see that? I know it's small. So it's, site colon. It's way up there. And then you type the site name. So for example, since most of us are Spectrum, I think it's spectrum.net, isn't it? Or is it .com? We'll go with .com. So whatever the website is, you do site colon and the website name, space, what you're looking for. So what are we trying to find? Compatible modems. So now, instead of just hoping and praying that I hit the right website, when I do, that makes it easier to read. When I do this search right here, it actually shows me only sites on Spectrum.com. And it shows me compatible modems. Did you know you could do that?
So Amazon's not trying to sell me something now.
Exactly! It doesn't pull up an Amazon search result, it's only going to pull, well, it might, because, you know, ads, right? But in general, you're only getting sites, except for the ads, you're only going to get results from the site that you want. In this case, the very top link here is their modem policy. That may be what I want. I actually found it and opened it up right here. So, spectrum.net/modems. Go to that website, you can print it off, you can bookmark it on your phone, tablet, whatever, and then go to Best Buy or Amazon, or actually go to Amazon, smile.amazon.com, give us money back, okay? Go to Amazon, buy a compatible modem, and you're off to the races, and then have them take off that charge. Why pay for something if you don't have to? Modems range in cost. I've seen them for $50. I've seen them for over $100. It really just depends on the ISP and the features that you want with it. You do not need to get a modem that's also a router and all this other stuff. If you can just get the wrong modem, you're good enough.
What happens if it goes bad?
The modem?
Yeah.
It's your responsibility, and guess what? You go back and buy another one. And if it goes bad and you need it immediately, rent a modem for a month. Or buy 2 of them.
Go to Best Buy.
Go to Best Buy. You got options. But if you are paying for a modem and you can stop, please do that. That's just silly throwing your money away. And then the other thing they try to get you for is the Wi-Fi.
I got
So-
both. I bought one.
You bought yours?
Bought one, got both of them. The only thing I pay for is the internet. And I
There you go.
pay for Spectrum, and it's $49.99 a month.
And that's what you want. You
Yeah.
just want to pay for the internet. They also include this value-added Wi-Fi package. We'll give you a whole home Wi-Fi for only $9.95 a month. And then you go from one end of your house to the other and you can't get Wi-Fi. So why am I paying $9 or whatever it is a month when it doesn't even work that well? So what I want to show you is how you break up those pieces, with this being the first part, the modem. So if you're paying, now you know how to stop that. And if you're paying for anything else, we're going to get to what you need to actually buy. So on the back of this modem, this actually is my modem. I pulled a picture offline. I'm connected to a different, the coax connector over there, but you notice this guy right here, what does that look like to you?
Fingerprint.
It's like a phone line. It's the RJ11 jack. So if you have that, you're probably DSL. Or if you have this one, you're probably cable. That's a coax cable. That's how mine connects in. And by the way, it's not both of these ports over here. It's one of them. I didn't want to unmount my modem and then look at the back and all that.
I think that might be for a telephone.
It could be. Maybe one comes in and one splits the phone out. Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's a good
have
point.
one that's got a telephone number that I can use.
That makes sense. Because you still need your telephone line, right? So it comes in and splits.
It's a AT&T wireless internet.
Oh, and then
So
it
it's
just
internet
splits out.
and,
Oh,
and a
okay.
telephone.
Okay.
Voice over IP.
That makes sense. So that may actually be a phone line that just gives you a connection. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. But most of you are going to actually probably using that. Time Warner is probably that, I assume. So you plug in the cable from your ISP that's in the cloud or internet or wherever, comes into your house, and then it has to go through the router. Now, a lot of times the router is built into your modem, but if you really want control over things, such as, oh, I'm tired of my ISP knowing where I go. Did you know that if they control your router, they put in their own settings where they can say, oh, Kenneth went to LCCS Ohio EcoTU I don't know how to say that quickly, .club. Oh, he goes to Amazon, he goes here. They don't need to know that. They have to because they're interpreting it. So if you take things in your own hands and buy a router, this is actually an example of a router that I used to use at home. I've upgraded. You can pass this around. It's this top one right there. I've also played around with this one. This is a great I think the price went up. It was $49 when I bought it. I believe it's more expensive now. I recommend it to a point. It is not user friendly. This guy over here, the one that I'm passing around, has a beautiful user interface. It's point and click. This one has somewhat of a user interface, but then sometimes you have to SSH into it, type in some Linux commands to get what you want. So if you want to go this route, good luck. I can't help you with it. If you want to go this route, by all means ask me. I'd be happy to help you set it up.
What does SSH into it mean?
It's a way to, instead of physically being at a computer where I have a keyboard and a mouse plugged in, I can actually do it through the network. So it's kind of like a virtual keyboard and mouse. Where are you? Oh, you're in there serving us. I got you. So I don't want to mess with SSH. It's fun, but if you want to buy this and save some money, by all means, $49, $59, whatever it is now. This guy was $129, but it is so much easier to use. And if you really want to get crazy, you can get something like this. I cannot help you with this. It's a Cisco router. It does a lot of fun stuff, but yeah, we'll be learning together because I don't even know where to begin with this. This is for like network engineers, corporate environments. This is actually a mix of corporate and home. This is really meant for the corporate environment, but I found it so easy to use, I just brought it in. And I can do some pretty cool stuff with it, which actually we're going to explore some of that stuff in our SIG as the months go by. This guy is a bigger version of this guy, and that guy, bigger version of that. This is what I've upgraded to, something similar to that. And the main reason is when I switch my ISP, because they're jacking up my price from $50 a month to all of a sudden it's $100 a month. Not getting faster service, you know, but it's going to be more expensive. There's a provider in the Columbus area. They're not in Newark yet, and they're not in Pataskala where I am, but it requires this type of connection. Anybody know what this is?
I have seen
Ethernet cable.
It is a type of Ethernet cable.
it. Either,
It's a specific type.
Crossover.
It is a fiber cable.
on fiber line.
So fiber optics, yeah. What's neat about this is the Ethernet cables, what we use to plug our computers in, the distance is limited, and you have to get better and better and better quality to kind of get rid of, oh, I'm getting interference from my furnace. I actually have Ethernet coming right next to my electrical box, so I had to kind of pull them out and then run them through pipe to get them away from the electrical box. With this, it actually eliminates a lot of the issues that you have, but you need a special type of router or switch to do it. And these ports right here, it's a little module. You pick what module you want. In this case, I'd want fiber, plug it in, and then this is my internet connection. It's just a different type of cable. I tell you this not to confuse you. I see some confusion on your faces, but I tell you this because before you buy something, you need to make sure you know what's coming out of the modem. And if it's this, then you need to get something different. It's probably not, but it could be. That's pretty confusing, isn't it? So, what is a router? It is kind of like a traffic cop. It's moving the data between the internet and your private network. It is doing a lot of the interpretation, kind of like what the modem is doing. You have on your network, where any network here, at home, on the internet, you're going to have an address. What's our address here? Our physical address.
123 South 3rd Street.
123 South 3rd Street. So if I gave you that address and told you it's in Newark, Ohio, and you put it in your phone, could you locate us? Right? So if you don't know the address, you can't physically go to the place you want to visit. And the network, every device on a network, your phone, your tablets, your PCs, your router, all that stuff has an address. And that's an IP address. So you have to know where you're going. And I jumped ahead a little bit. I will talk about IP addresses in a second, but the next point is, I'm sorry about that. Next point is you get the router, and then you get to a firewall. What's a firewall?
Protection.
A block.
Yes, yes. It is a way to keep the bad guys out or if they get in, to try to keep them kind of from getting out again. So a firewall, think of it as a brick wall. That's why I put that up there. And there are some bricks that you take out, and you can peek through them and get things through it. You might be able to push, I don't know, a screwdriver through one of those bricks or something very small. But if you don't have a firewall, if we didn't have physical walls in this place, yet we had all this cool gear, a few things are going to happen. One, things are going to get stolen, most likely. Rain, you know, that kind of is bad for electronics. So the firewall is keeping anything that's bad out and protecting you from your network. A lot of times it's just software that's built into a router. And in this case, our router is also our firewall. It's just software running on this guy right here. Make sense? Okay, so the next part is the internet comes in through your ISP spectrum, goes down to the modem, and then comes out through this guy right here. This is a RJ45 and Ethernet port. It is just a standard cable you've probably seen laying around your house, or you've used them before. So that guy comes out here and goes into one of these ports. In this case, it has to go to a very specific port. Who has the router right now? Okay, can you read to me, because these are awful small? Right here, this second one over from the left, it has a word down there. What does it say?
Wham, wham, wham.
Wham, wham, wham. W-A-N. Does anybody know what that means?
Wide area network.
Oh, wow. Very good, yes. Wide area network. So it's the internet side. So that's why the modem is coming in through this one. What does that one say? The next one over.
LAN.
What's LAN?
Local area network.
Local, right? So everything inside our building is the LAN. So you can probably guess what's going to happen next. We start talking about the private side. Now, I'm not going to keep building this picture up. It'll get very confusing. We'll put it together at the end. But let's talk about inside our network. And have you ever heard the term intranet? Maybe at work. So it's your internal network. So we talked about what is an IP address. It's your physical location. It's where you're located on your network. If I don't know you're at 123 East Main Street or wherever address you're at, I can't find you. And sometimes I want to get to a hard drive that's on the network, or, oh, I need to copy a file over to a computer. You can still pull out that thumb drive, plug it in, and then walk over to the other computer and plug it to the new one. Why do that when you can actually find it on your intranet? So if you know the address, you can connect to it. So the next part is a switch, and this too is often built into your modem. You can use, if you get this guy, you only have one port here. This guy right here is a whole separate network. And as of right now, I have not seen a way to combine them and make this an extra port on the network. Even if we could, let's pretend that this was on the same network. Do you only have 2 devices in your house that are plugged in?
Probably not.
Probably not. If you do, congratulations, that's impressive. But I need more than 2. So this LAN port, as we said earlier, local area network, has to go somewhere and split it out. I'm not telling you to run out and buy this guy right here. This has 48, 50, 52 ports on it.
That's enough.
You probably don't need that many ports. Maybe you do. I mean, if you're having fun, you know.
Wow.
This is the big brother to the Unify line, the thing we've been talking about today, and then this is the big brother to this guy. This actually does have, well, there's 5 ports. One of them serves as the WAN port, and then you can make all these a LAN port. So if you really, again, I can't help you with configuration. I'll try, but it's intense. If you want to get this and save a little bit of money on the switch, you can do it as long as you only have 2. Yeah, 4 more devices. I thought that was a console port. So this can be a switch. This can be a switch. And I bought a 16 port switch. I actually got it at Micro Center Open Box. It powers devices through it, which we'll talk about in a second. And I spent $200 on it. So it's not crazy expensive. Switches like this in the enterprise cost thousands of dollars. And the reason why I like Unify is they make enterprise grade gear. Granted, the Cisco switches do more. That's just how it is right now. but they make this enterprise grade gear easy to manage and more affordable. So if you only need 16 devices, go buy the one I bought. You can even get it for less if you don't want it to power devices. And what do I mean by powering? Well, this right here needs power. There's no physical power outlet on it. I'll pass it around for you guys. It's a Wi-Fi access point. It's another part of this equation. I either have to buy a switch that powers it, or I have to buy a power adapter. And it's another piece of hardware that I've got kind of hanging around. It's okay, it works. It's just kind of ugly. So if you're okay with this, think it will. Oh, here we go. $15.99. So for $15.99, you can buy one of these. You can pass that around too if you want. So we've got the router, and now we have a switch, which splits up the connection between devices. And in this case, I've got the 48 port. So now I can plug in 47 more devices, plus these special ports over here if I really needed it. So router, switch, and I've got room on my network. Yes, sir?
Is this a good time to talk about speed?
What do you mean, speed with the internal?
10, 100,000.
Well, yeah. So there are different speeds on networks. There's 10, 100, gigabit, 10 gigabit. All these switches that I'm showing you are the gigabit. They're really, really fast. Your internet connection at home, doubtful that it's a gigabit. My Spectrum connection is a couple hundred megabytes or megabits.
Bits per second.
Megabits per second. So I don't need anything more than a gigabit, but if you're at home and you have a computer that you want to connect to a network attached storage device, let's say, you could get a much, much faster connection if you spend more money on a switch that does 10 gigabit. I don't know too many people that would even need that. I'm running this just fine with a network attached storage device, and I don't notice any slowdown at all.
Can you get anything lower speed than a gigabit anymore?
You can. Another switch here. This is actually gigabit as well. If you don't want to buy the Unify switch, this guy was, I believe, $60. There's a less expensive version of this, but I think it's gigabit as well. The reason why I brought this particular one, when you start digging into what they can do with your internal network, I have some devices like my Ring Video Doorbell. I have a couple of other like light switch things, and one of them's from China, and I don't really know if it's secure or not. So you never know, right? I have a separate network, but it's on the same hardware. I separated the layers between them, and it's called a why did I just forget? VLAN, Virtual Local Area Network. This switch will do VLANs, the other one won't. If you don't think you ever want to separate stuff, you can just buy an inexpensive switch. But I haven't seen a 10100 in a long time. I haven't really shopped for
Worry
them.
about that.
Yeah, get gigabit if you can, but it's probably going to be hard to get 10100. You guys can pass this around too if you want. Yes, sir.
When you're doing all this for networking, I mean, you can get everything in one box, right? Now, the difference in one box and all these different boxes is that the failure of any one aspect will cost you potentially less. But I think now that we've got into the 21st century, we're getting such good multi-purpose devices that if you don't really wish to learn all the aspects, it makes much more sense to have a one-step shopping here and one device to buy and potentially replace.
Depends on your needs, honestly. In the whole point of separating it today is to show you that that one box that you're talking about does multiple things. Okay, so if it's doing A, B, C, D, is it really, really good at A, B, C, and D? Or is it just good enough for A, B, C, and D? I went this route because I needed, okay, here's a good example. I turned on something called IPS and IDS. It's intrusion detection. And I thought, nobody's trying to get on my network. But why not? Let's see. So I turn it on, and within a week, I have this really pretty graph I can show you if we have time. I was getting attacked from everywhere, inside the United States, from China, from Russia, from Korea, from everywhere. So I went, oh, this is interesting. So I stopped looking at it, and I turned on the protection side of it, and I started blocking stuff. Well, it slowed down that multi-device. It was the one that we're passing around. It actually got so slow that it affected my internet connection, so I upgraded. I bought a faster device, because this is just a computer. It's an ARM-based computer. And it could only do so much at once. Once I upgraded, my internet connection was back to normal. So yeah, you can absolutely get something that does everything, but I will tell you this, it is not going to be very good at Wi-Fi. It'll be all right. This guy, I can plug these in, I can plug in as many as I want and spread them out throughout the house, and I actually have a connection from one side to the other. There's also another technology called mesh that you have one main base station and then they wirelessly connect to each other, and they basically give you internet everywhere in your house. They're not as good as this. This is hardwired. This is faster. I had that, and I noticed when I was starting to copy files, when I was downloading actually ISO files from Linux, and I said, oh, I want to move it to this computer. Okay, this is going to take 12 hours. I guess I'll leave it overnight. I switched to this stuff and ran a wire, and I mean, it is almost as fast as that gigabit connection. 867 versus 1,000, so it's real, real close. And now I'm not waiting 12 hours to copy stuff back and forth. So yeah, you can get something that's a combo deal. And believe me, it would be easier to plug in one device and just run it. But if your needs change or if you want something a little better, kind of split it up. Yes, John?
So if you ran a wire to run that, why not just plug the device into that wire?
You could.
Okay.
Yep. But your tablet or your phone probably doesn't have an Ethernet connection. So if the internet's on one side and then you have a weak connection on the other side, I'd probably want to run a wire somewhere to get another access point in there and make the signal stronger. But yeah, I actually just recently built a house. I think we've been in 6 months. And the one thing I did was run cabling. And I ran a cable to the ceiling on both floors, both the first floor and second floor, for this guy right here. And I ran multiple cables behind my TV, because guess what? That Apple TV, Roku device, or fancy TV that has the Ethernet jack in it, it actually works faster when you physically plug it in. I used to get the spinning wheel, and then the picture would kind of look bad, and you'd have to wait, and then eventually the picture would sharpen up real quick. The first time it happened when I was at the house, I went, wait, what's going on? Oh, that's right, it's buffering. It almost completely fixed the issue because of the physical connector. So it's always better to have hardware. So in that case, you might need a 48 port switch, depending on how much stuff you run to it. Make sense?
Mhm.
So, we talked about this. This is the access point. Did I already pass it around?
Yes.
I did? Okay. So, you can get the power adapter for it, or you can run it straight from the switch. If this is something you want to explore, they have so many different versions of this. They even have versions that give you a longer range. I actually put something like that in a church. It was a very, very large ceilings, and they had old stucco and all this stuff that basically blocked the wireless signal. Us in this room actually creates interference for the Wi-Fi signal. Us, we block, and it has to penetrate through us. It doesn't go, oh, I'll just go around, like somebody who's polite, right? It says, no, I'm just going to keep forcing my way through you, because that's the only way it knows how to do it. All these walls, has to get through the walls. That's why you get a poor Wi-Fi signal on the other side of the house. So, access point. Hardwired is always better. I love hardwired. Now I want to show you something. I'm not endorsing this, okay?
Okay.
But I'm going to show it to you. This is, anybody seen these before? They plug into your wall and they provide Ethernet.
Oh, I thought it was one where they just plug your phone into and charge it.
No,
Nope.
no. Well, you could piggyback it off this. These are great if you don't want to separate your network, like I was talking about with the unknown security of devices. Because if we start creating a complicated network, this guy goes, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just going to ignore what you said and just pass the information along raw.
Is the signal for these two devices coming just picking up from airwaves on the power line? Or?
Good question.
Okay.
The signal is coming from the power line. So if you have an older home and the power's dirty,
Oh,
it's probably slower than Wi-Fi. But if it's your only option, it's an okay option.
No, it uses the wire.
The wire, correct,
It
yes.
doesn't use the power.
Right.
Now,
I
another
misstated
thing
that.
is you need to be careful about is you have a 220 volt coming in your house and it's split into 125.
Mhm.
If you have one of these things on one side of that and the other one on the other side of that split, it may not work.
Yep,
It's best to work on the same phase.
yep. There's too many limitations to this. If you plug it in and it works and it does what you need it to do, okay. When I did it, I had an apartment that we were living in and I had that same problem. I plugged it in where I needed it and in the opposite side and it wouldn't work. And I found out it was because it was on a different circuit, I think. Is that what it was?
Phase, yeah, it's the two phases.
So, it's an option. Pass that around if you want. But I'm not saying that you should necessarily do that. The best thing to do is to run the Ethernet wire just straight. Now that guy has 3 ports on it. You're not going to get gigabit. You probably don't even get 10100 out of it. But it splits that connection between the wire, the power wire. It splits the connection up into 3 separate ports on that particular model. But it worked okay in the apartment, so, you know. You do what you have to do. Couldn't tear out the walls in the apartment, so I have no choice. I don't think they would have liked that very much. So, our intranet looks something like this now. We have a router, which on the other side is connected to the internet. On the router, we use the LAN port, LAN. Why am I pointing when I have this? It has the LAN port that goes into any random port on the switch that gives us all these network connections, of which I decided I need 2 access points, because why not? So I plug one in here, I plug one in there, and if I bought the switch that does power, that's it, it's 1 cable. If I bought the switch that doesn't do power, well, that's when I have to buy wherever that box is, another separate power adapter, and then there's 2 cables coming from it. So, this is our internal network. Does it make sense? Silence is yes, okay. So, how many of you have tried to get into your Linksys, Netgear, D-Link, there's all sorts of brands. It was a management side to your router. Have you ever tried to log in?
Yep.
An IP address 192.168.1.1 or .0.1 or something like that.
right.
So that's how you manage the device. When with these devices, the software isn't physically running on every single one of them. That would mean, oh, what's the address for this? Oh, it's .5. I need to go there. Oh, now I need the switch. That's .2, so I go there. Oh, now I need the router. So every different device you move to, you'd have to pick a different address. What Unify does is it brings all the equipment into one address. And the way it does it, 2 ways actually. There's a cloud key. This is just the empty box because I have it installed at home. It is a little Debian Linux, sort of. They use Debian as the core, running on an ARM processor that runs a database and runs all the fancy GUI stuff. What do we care? This is just the management part of it. This is how I log into everything at once. Not separate addresses. I don't need to remember 20 different things. I just need to remember this guy right here. You can either buy this, which you can pass that around.
So you're saying that when you have that hooked up and you and you go through that management, it's gonna bring up everything that you need to go to right there. All you have to do is click on.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
One spot.
One spot.
If they are all from that same company.
If they're all from Ubiquity. If you're following my model and you bought everything I've showed you, yes. If you buy that Edge router thing or something different, no.
Okay.
It has its own management. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, it's all from Ubiquity Unify. Actually, specifically, if you're going to buy again, please talk to me, I can help you. But Ubiquity is the company. Unify, U-N-I-F-I, is the brand that uses this interface. So Ubiquity Unify. Unify is the most important part. So we can use the cloud key, which, of course, costs more money. I will tell you, I really like it. I didn't do this at first. When I started off, I had a Linux machine. And I installed it on that Linux machine. It was actually a virtual Linux machine. It was a computer running inside of a computer. And came time to update it, and I just kept hitting walls. And one time I updated and it corrupted everything. I don't want to have to worry about it, which is why I bought this guy. This guy updates inside of its own software, and I haven't had it fail once. I have 3 of these that I'm using. 1 at home and then 2 in 2 different businesses, and they work great. So if you're going to do it, and you can spare the extra money, by all means buy that guy. But, you know, if you have a Mac or Windows or Linux and you want to play, I don't like to play with my stuff, I just like it to work. Then by all means use a spare computer, it works fine until you have to update it. That could get better, but for now, my experience has been, use their device and you're good to go. And then we bring it all together. So where do we start? We have the internet, which comes from the ISP, plugs into that or this, and then this is your Ethernet RJ45 network cable that plugs into your router. The router goes to the switch, and then we have our Wi-Fi right here. We might have a printer, and then we have the management devices and everything else that goes along with the switch. So this is a complete network from the internet locally. Make sense? I saw a note. It's okay, you can ask questions afterwards. This is just how it all comes together. And to your point, if you buy a device that does everything, you're going to simplify it where you kind of eliminate this, this, and this, and you have one device that does these 4 functions, really, the firewall. So it does make it a little easier, but it may not work as well. Yes, John?
Did you say you have to have a spare computer?
You have to have a way to manage it. So either that cloud key device that I passed around, that would be your spare computer, or a virtual machine on an existing computer, or a dedicated computer, which would be kind of silly because a computer draws a lot of power, that thing doesn't. You'd probably waste more money on power than you would in a couple of years just using that cloud key. So, your choice. And that's what this is right here, one or the other. Pick your poison. This one tastes better. I wouldn't call it poison, actually. That I call possible poison. You might get in a hole there, but...
What's the cost of that little box?
Well, it changes, so we can look it up. And actually, let's look up a few things. So, ubnt.com, they changed their website. It goes to ui.com, so there you go. ui.com. If you go to Unify up here, and you can see the security gateway is the router. This is the switch. This is for remote management, cloud key. Let's see what, oh, they've got a new version too. So this guy costs $106, that's cheaper than what I paid. Used to be $129. If you're smart and you go to Amazon, you can get these things repurposed or refurbished or used and spend far less. Actually, this access point, do I have it? So this guy runs $149. Do you know what I spent on it? $60.
Got a damn.
I got it at Amazon. It's used. It's a previous generation. It doesn't do the latest Wi-Fi standard AC, but I didn't care.
Did you go to smiles.amazon?
I did, actually. I did. And my nonprofit of choice back then, which was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they got money. So yeah, you buy at Amazon, we also benefit from it. But if you don't mind getting something pre-owned and you don't want to worry about it, you don't get a warranty, okay? So if something goes wrong, again, you're taking a little bit of a risk there, but you can save some money. The Cloud Key, $106. I mean, it used to be $129, so that's quite a bit less. The access point we were talking about is this guy, Unified Security Gateway. It currently costs $139. And then the Wi-Fi is on the far left. Wi-Fi, this is where it gets confusing. HD and SHD are really, really high end. I don't really see any reason to buy those unless you're in like a stadium where you have thousands and thousands of people connecting all at once. But for home, these AC are fine. And they range from, we need a comparison is what we need. Well, the AC Pro is $149. Okay, here's all the different models. Light one's the most affordable. Here's your long range. Here's the one I've been talking about. You can skip that, you can skip that. So this was $149, and I believe this was like $69, $79 last time I checked. I have to click it and click buy now for each one of them, but go to UI.com. You can find the current prices. Or go to smile.amazon.com, plug there, and buy it from Amazon. Actually, Amazon a lot of times will sell it for less, even though it's new. And it's Ubiquity Store, so I don't know why they're selling it for more on their website, but less on their Amazon store website. It's worth checking out. Okay.
Probably more people go to Amazon in quantity over Brad's.
Probably, yeah. Good point. So I'm going to show you a working instance of this network. Now, I've just remotely connected to my internal network at home, which is another reason why I bought this equipment. When I am at Starbucks or at the library or actually at the church this morning, and my phone connected to Wi-Fi, I was like, oh, no. I want to protect myself. I connected to VPN. That's going a little deep. You can buy VPN service from people, but essentially it takes everything that you're spitting out of your computer, all that network traffic, and hides it and puts it in this tunnel. And only the beginning and the end can see what's going on. People can try to get in, but they keep hitting this wall in this tunnel. And I am now connected to a VPN at my house that I don't pay for. It's just a part of the device.
Oh,
It's part of that router I just showed you.
okay.
Another reason why sometimes it's better to split it up. You know, you can get Linksys routers that might do VPN, but this was very easy to set up. So I wanted to show you, where is my cursor? There we go. I probably have to log in again because it was a couple hours ago. But up here, I go to the web address. Oh good, I'm still logged in. Hold on a second. It is not quite full screen. Okay, here we go. So I log in, lots of pretty things to look at. I can look at statistics on my network, such as how much bandwidth am I using. Sometimes your ISP will say you only get this much a month. You can actually monitor it from here. I can look at the devices on my network. So here's all the Unified equipment I have on my network. The router, switch, actually I have two switches. Switch, that's temporary. And then I have 2 access points. So again, I'm not logging into 5 different places or 6 different places in this case. I'm sorry, 5, yes. I'm going to one place to actually get to it all. And then here, if you didn't believe me, I'm going to show you. This is the last 24 hours, my network getting attacked. And most of it's coming from one country here, which is probably China. I've got the screen so small I can't see it, but let's go ahead and view the traffic and just see what's going on. So China, 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 they really wanted my network. You don't think you're getting attacked? You're being naive. I'm telling you. I didn't believe it until I saw it. Now, you may not be as bad as what I'm getting, because I do have a VPN set up, so I have an open port, but attacks do happen. And then I just come in here every once in a while and I say, actually, look at this. This attack is coming from an internal address. So there's a computer on my network that's trying to compromise my network inside. It's a spy. And ironically, I know which computer that is because I've been dealing with it. It's my mother-in-law's computer. Guess what? She's visiting from China. But, so there you go. You know, do they spy? I don't know. Look at that. You know? So that's an internal address. And I know that because I know my IP structure, but you'll see, oh wow, all these. Here's an external address. So here's an attack from Brazil. So I just go in here and I say, go ahead and block that, and I'm going to go ahead and blacklist that IP. And here in a second it'll be grayed out, error, it'll probably still work. So, yeah, got it. So now if I go back in here, see how it's not grayed out, but it's lighter blue? I've now blocked this whole IP address, actually probably just that port. And I've also, well no, I blacklisted this IP address, which is this, and I blocked this particular attack, which was an exploit, attempted administrator privilege game. It means they were trying to guess passwords. I just did it. Was that easy? I look at a graph, I click view, I click it, block, and then block. Done. I actually kicked my mother-in-law offline the other day because I was blocking everything willy-nilly. So be careful. Look, it's the internal where my computer's not working. And of course, we're trying to translate back and forth. It was kind of funny. But yeah. And you'd be surprised at the traffic. I did an Apple update when I first got this. I said, what is all this Alchemy stuff? I think it's called Alchemy. So I kept blocking it. Then eventually my update stopped working. And oh, that was legitimate. So I can go back and unblock it. So be careful. But, you know, look at all those attacks from China. And that's just 24 hours. If I go back the last 30 days.
I think that's because they remember you when you used to work over there.
Yeah, they might. So, there's that guy again. So here they are, all over the world. You can trace it back, Nepal, India, Pakistan. Oh, I guess there's a country. But the lines here show where they're coming from. And an IP address is kind of like physical location. So I can see not only is it coming from China, it looks like it's coming from Guangzhou area. And the other one looks like it might be coming from Shanghai. I kind of know the geography over there. That's the only reason I know. If I click it, it'll tell me exactly where it is. You can look up an IP and say, what is this IP? And it'll tell you where it is, roughly. So, kind of neat, isn't it?
Yeah, scary, not neat.
Scary, yes.
Scary.
And here's the cool part. I no longer have to rely on my ISP to interpret an IP. When you go to www.whatever.com, the computer needs to know where that is. What's the address? 123 East Main Street. So you give it one thing, and the server on the internet transfers it into an actual IP address. Oh, that's 77.154, whatever. Doesn't matter. We don't care. We can't memorize. Could you memorize all those numbers? Amazon has multiple numbers. So you'd have to remember all of them if one didn't work. Well, right here in my network, I can say, okay, here's my main network. I do not want to use it's called a DNS server. And I probably passed it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I do not want to use their DNS server. So I set up a Raspberry Pi. And I made it a DNS server. You know why? Because when I go to whatever website and there's ads popping up, Facebook, ads here, ads there, blocks it. It has been a wonderful experience at home reading websites now because of a little $30 device. And I tell my router, I have control over it, what that address is. And I'm done.
So you have to,
that's what we're going to talk about later on, is how you actually can do that. Yes?
so you actually have to physically tell it which domain name is what address.
The
Each one
DNS
gotta go
server
to-
does, not me. And this little guy right here, unfortunately, it runs just on Windows. So I created a Windows virtual machine. But the first thing I did was I went in and found out what's the closest DNS server, what's the fastest DNS server, and I just ran this when I got here. So if you want the best possible performance, download this little utility. It's from Steve Gibson, grc.com, and it's just called DNS Benchmark. So you run this guy, it tells you, hey, the Linksys router obviously is our fastest point because it's physically in here. So you kind of forget about that. But the next one I want to put in, if I didn't care about the ads, would be 4.2.2.1, which I believe is a Google server, is it not? No. Google's 8s. I forget who this is. So I might make this my DNS server, or I might make this a secondary. But these are the fastest. And the utility, grc.com, DNS Benchmark, download it, Windows only, and you can pick your own DNS. Your ISP wants you to use their DNS servers, but that's how they can get information, make money off what you do. So, pick your own. Any questions?
Break time. Food break.
Probably on a regular computer now, does it do any blocking the Chinese coming in or like that?
On this particular route, that's a good question. If you do not turn on IDS and IPS, there's a setting I can show you.
What was the question, Ted?
He says, can you block a geographic location if you wanted to? I have to find it, but somewhere in this setup, probably here, Geo IP filtering. So I actually enabled it, but unfortunately it doesn't work when you have, the router's not powerful enough. Here's another example why you want a powerful router. I turned this on, I said only allow United States IP. Or you can say block this one, block this one. I just said, I don't care, just block everything but the US. Unfortunately, because of the other stuff, it doesn't work yet. Maybe they'll fix it and make it more efficient. But I could say block every address in the US, that'd be stupid. I couldn't do anything. But this actually built into it. Does that answer your question? Block a country in general, or?
Well, you know, if you're home working on your computer and they say you've got an intrusion, you know, did your Avast and that block that stuff out for you, or?
Yeah, that's what I did on that other step. Under this guy right here, intrusion prevention. This is where you just block it one at a time. And you can block internal devices. If you're on a corporate network and somebody plugs in and something weird's going on, you can find them and block them. But maybe have a bad day like I did. I don't know why your internet's off, but when you have an IP address, you just can't get to the internet. And then I realized, oh, I was randomly blocking stuff at 2 in the morning. Maybe I blocked your computer. Any other questions?
I think what he's wondering is,
Oh,
the way he has it set up now, is he being intruded with the, having Avast on there or whatever?
Do you run Windows? Okay. When Microsoft actually, a couple of years, well, a while ago now, released their own firewall, and they've had that for a long time, but their antivirus solution is actually better than most. Are you using the Avast firewall piece or the antivirus software? Because they have two different things.
I'm using the free one.
Free one? It's probably the antivirus. They do have a firewall. I would tell you, you probably want to get rid of it. A lot of those, this is actually a great general rule of thumb. On Windows, in order for an antivirus program to do its job correctly, it has to have what we call in the Linux world root level access. It has to be able to do anything. And a lot of them will go in and install their own little special certificate. So it says, bypass everything encrypted and just go through the certificate first. And those certificates, with some companies, have had generic passwords, all the same. They've been compromised. So if you rely on Microsoft's antivirus solution, they don't need those kind of plugins here and there. I would just uninstall it. I would just use what Microsoft gives you, which is
Windows
Security
Defender.
Essentials.
Windows Defender now.
Windows Defender.
Right.
Does that?
Yeah, especially number one,
Okay.
what they're saying.
Yes, sir.
Just out of curiosity, I've noticed there's something in the past 2 days. Has they done something different on the net and that? Because anywhere I go now, I access something and I come out here to some other odd sales pitch or some other thing like that, or another portal. And it's like on my cell phone. Just today I noticed here, every time you turn it on, it's off playing something else. Is there something going on the internet or networking and,
So you
see like here,
you go one place, but it seems to be going somewhere else?
I just turned it on. I don't have that stuff on there. What is it? Where's,
So where'd you buy your phone from?
my son bought it from Sprint.
Okay. Some cell phones, unfortunately, gives a bad name to Android, but some Android cell phones will sell you a really nice phone for not much money. And the way they do it is, I wish I could show everybody what you're looking at. They display ads on your lock screen. There's nothing you can do about it that I'm aware of.
Basically, I just turned it on and everything, it pops up. It
Yeah.
never pops up before.
It's how they're monetizing the additional expense. They're showing you ads and sharing your personal information out. Actually, you know what would be interesting is having that connect to what we will talk about with it's called a pie hole, by the way. It's a DNS pie hole. If you were to set this up in your house and then have your phone connect to it, I wonder if those ads would disappear. They might.
I didn't even log into it yet. I just turned it on. And you hadn't logged in, it's all this stuff on there.
Nothing you're doing wrong.
And it's like I said on the computers, you're going into the thing and it's scooting off someplace else. I'm in some medical files looking for stuff, information. Next thing I know, it's a trying to sell aspirin or something like that.
Have you ever noticed you went to a website and then it like refreshed a couple times? You may not have noticed it because it happens quickly. So the first site is your ad site, then another one might be another ad site, and another ad site, and another ad. So you were at Facebook, you clicked a link, and all of a sudden Facebook said, oh, this is Kenneth Tubal. Oh, by the way, his favorite color is purple. Oh, and he weighs this much, this size and where, here's his car, you can have all this
And you
information.
want to see this.
Yeah. And then they eventually get you to where you need to go. But Facebook has just made money off that one click. And you'll see it happen. It'll go direct, redirect, redirect. And I notice it now because from the ad blocker, I click a link and it just says, that doesn't work. I go, oh, it was an ad. So I just don't go there. Or you can pause it if you wanted to. Yes, sir?
Originally, the fastest we could get was telephone, like a DSL or 4. But now we got cable. Now, when we go to 5G, will we be able to go Wi-Fi for everything and just forget about plug connection with 5G?
Well, 5G is a cellular standard, and what they're claiming is that it's going to be faster than your home internet connection. But, sorry.
Time, I think we better
Okay.
wrap it up.
The last one then. If you guys have more questions, you can come and talk to me. 5G is a cellular standard that's actually supposed to be faster than your home internet. They want you to replace your home internet. The problem is, well, we want to sell you 5G on this. Oh, you got another device? Well, we want to sell you 5G on that. Oh, you got another one? So you keep adding on additional bills. Unless somebody does some sort of 5G router, it could theoretically be faster. And then Wi-Fi, there's a new standard actually coming out, and I can't remember what it's called. AX or, no, they changed the name, Wi-Fi, and there's a number behind it. It's supposed to be faster than the AC standard. So it's getting better and better and better, but I don't know that 5G is going to be, we'll see, but I don't know if it's going to be the one to really replace everything. Right now, if you walk in front of a tree, you lose your connection. So they've really got a lot of stuff to figure out. So if you have any more questions, I'll wait around and chat with you.
That's good.